Oh, you better beat the waiver wire. If you don't beat the waiver wire for week 8, the waiver wire will beat you. That made no sense, but let's talk about it right now on FFT Express. All right. Ooh, uh-oh.
What does that sound like?
It's a Binado.
The Binado is coming!
Oh, goodness. We've got 6 teams on a bye in week 8. Arizona, Detroit, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, the Rams, and the Seahawks. Plan ahead. It's brutal for running backs, man. So, Dave, what do we do?
Well, what do you do? If you're trying to win in week 8, you're trying to find players to replace the ones who are on bye. I do know some people who have a bunch of players who are studs who have a bye in week 8 and they're punting on the week. And I that sounds crazy, but it actually, like, if your record is good and you think you've got a clear path to the playoffs, which FYI, you really don't have unless you're 6-0 at this point. It makes sense if you really value the players on your bench and you don't want to let a bunch of good bench players go. But to me, that feels like a loser's mentality, and also a specific situation where, you've got St. Brown and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and like your bench is loaded. Then maybe, like, in a situation like that, throw Kyron Williams on your team. Maybe, okay, I could kind of see it. But if you can make moves, you should make moves, and you could also make trades. There's nothing wrong with trying to trade somebody who's on bye in week 8 for a comparable player. You don't have to worry about what the other team who you're trading with does with that player. But if you're getting a player back that's not on bye in week 8, comparable value, you're happy with the trade, the 1-for-1 deal, you can go ahead and do that. And then you don't have to worry about the week 8 Binado. Do you want to start with the running backs? Is that where you were kind of angling at?
It doesn't matter. I mean, what the hell are we supposed to do at running back? I think like Tyjae Spears is the only halfway decent option to beat the waiver wire.
You got it. He's the best one. And the rationale that I have when I look at running backs and I'm trying to replace for the Binado, or just I'm in a pinch and I need a running back, who can get me 10 PPR points? Simple as that. And if you can get me 10 PPR points, then you're a consideration when I am desperate for fantasy help. And Tyjae Spears is the best guy, 48% available. He's got the Colts in week 8. Not the easiest matchup, not the hardest matchup, but he's worth grabbing just in case he ends up being the best running back in Tennessee for the second week in a row. So go ahead and look at Tyjae Spears. I also put Hassan Haskins on the list. He's 56% available. He should get some opportunity for the Chargers, and they play against Minnesota in week 8. That's been a pretty favorable run defense matchup. Running backs that are less available. Tyler Algier fits the T. When the game script is right, he's double-digit PPR points every time, but he's only 33% available. Kareem Hunt, Kenny Gainwell, Kendre Miller. Gainwell you're going to have to get before the Thursday night game, but all those guys owned in are available in less than 33% of leagues, but they're out there. They might be able to get you near that 10 PPR point range. More available running backs. This list is disgusting. I do not recommend getting any of these guys, but you might be desperate. Jerome Ford, 80% available against the Patriots. Maybe he catches some passes. Brashard Smith, Isaiah Davis, Jeremy McNichols, Xavier Scott. I don't even really feel good recommending them. They are simply warm bodies who might catch passes and maybe help you just fill the roster spot for the week in week 8. And they're all available in at least 80% of leagues.
There's one, you said almost every name at running back, but there's one that you didn't say, and that's Justice Hill, who has 4 or more targets in 3 of his last 4 games, 7.5 or more fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. I acknowledge, especially going up against Chicago where Derrick Henry should just destroy them, Justice Hill might score 2 points, but he is another one of those warm bodies that can catch passes.
I actually like a lot of the names I said better than Justice Hill because I think Justice Hill is clearly game script dependent. And that's a game with Lamar Jackson back and that defense getting healthier in Baltimore. Ravens might actually play with a lead in that one. Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah, they might. Okay, how about quarterbacks?
Maybe my favorite stash of the week is Michael Penix Jr. 57% available. You can use him this week against San Francisco if you need to, but you shouldn't have to. But boy, oh boy, Adam, he's got the Dolphins in week number 8 at home. Should be a great opportunity for him. And so if you're missing Jared Goff, if you're missing Sam Darnold, Matthew Stafford, you've been using any of those guys, I would get Michael Penix right now. Grab him, put him on your bench, and make sure he's available for you to use as a bye week replacement in week number 8. There are some other quarterbacks that aren't bad either. they're just not as available as Michael Penix. CJ Stroud against the 49ers in week 8. Jackson Dart against Philadelphia. We saw what he did against Philadelphia just last week. That's who he plays in week 8. Some quarterbacks that are a little more widely available. Tua Tagovailoa. He's got Atlanta. Same matchup as Penix has. And Bryce Young against Buffalo. I think the Bills defense will come out of the bye and be a little bit better. And Bryce Young hasn't been great, but that is a name that you can go and look for. None of those guys are available in your leagues. Maybe you use the voice to do that. The quarterbacks, deep leagues, you can go after Carson Wentz against the Chargers, Spencer Rattler against Tampa Bay. I actually don't mind that one. Cam Ward against Indy. I do kind of mind that one. And then Aaron Rodgers plays on Thursday. So if you can stash him, you can. If not, you're going to have to wait till next week to get him. But he takes on the Packers at home in week 8. And Joe Flacco has a revenge game just like Rodgers does. He's available in a bunch of leagues. He takes on the Jets in week 8.
All right, let's take a break and talk wide receivers when we come back on FFT Express. We've got running backs and quarterbacks. Obviously there's a lot of names, but Tyjae Spears would be the best running back to get. Michael Penix would be the best quarterback to get. Wide receiver, what do we got?
I think my favorite wide receiver to get purely as a stash for week 7 and then to use in week 8 is Michael Penix's teammate, Darnell Mooney. And I know that we've talked about him before, but if he ends up playing in week 7, he knocks the rust off then, and then he goes into the week 8 matchup against Miami and he crushes it, especially since it's at home. So he's got the fast track. There's no weather to worry about. And that Dolphins defense just has not been good. You can ask a bunch of wide receivers. So this might be Darnell Mooney's last chance. Might be his Joe Boo game, Adam, in week number 8. But he's somebody that I like the idea of stashing and saving for week number 8. And I feel similarly with Josh Downs. I don't expect Josh Downs to play this week against the Chargers. He's got the concussion. He's probably not going to play. Should clear protocol. He's available in about half of CBS Sports leagues. That number will go up, and he takes on the Titans in week number 8. So those are 2 good receivers that you can stash and save. Other receivers that you can check for, the 49ers guys, Kendrick Bourne, Jawan Jennings, they're available in about a third of leagues, maybe less in the case of Bourne. Wan'Dale Robinson for the Giants. He's taking on Philadelphia in week 8. He's only available in about a fifth of CBS leagues. Deep plays for week 7, and then maybe usable in week 8. And this is for people that are really panicking at wide receiver. There's a lot of people out there that are like that. 4 names. Rashid Shaheed, who's not widely available, but the other 3 guys are Tez Johnson, Luther Burden, Josh Reynolds. And that's the order I like those 3 in. Tez Johnson first, Luther Burden second. I'll really like Burden if there's no DJ Moore for Chicago's game against the Saints. And then Josh Reynolds is the best receiver left in New York. He practiced on Thursday. You have to double check and make sure that he's okay. But that would be the receiver that would be 3rd on the list, but somebody who might be able to help you out this week and next week. All those guys could.
Yeah, Jalen Coker's 34% roster too. He's going to play this week. We'll see what he can do. That rhymed. Darius Slayton is down to 26% roster. There's still some long-term appeal there for Darius Slayton. And I know he's on a bye next week, but if you're in a shallow league or just check your 12-team leagues, Travis Hunter is 70% rostered. They seem very intent on getting him more involved. So just a guy that's a pure stash right now. And obviously in shallower leagues. Tight end's been interesting because it just feels like most weeks there's someone we can get off the waiver wire. Is there someone we need to be stashing?
Well, the problem is that there were 2 names that we gave last week. One was a stash, and the other one was one that we thought we could use, and both of them disappointed mightily. It was Colson Loveland and Mason Taylor, and they are both still on lists this week. But the tight ends, there are 3 tight ends that I look at that are available that you can use in week 7 and week 8, and that's something that is perfect for people that are streaming the position. Harold Fannin, we talked about him all the week. He was one of our favorite waiver wire ads. 37% available still. He's got that glorious matchup against Miami this week. He's at New England next week. Mason Taylor of the Jets. Again, another pass catcher on a team that is running out of those types of players, and he's got good matchups against Carolina this week, Cincinnati next week. Evan Ingram, available in about half of CBS Sports leagues, has the Giants this week. He's got the Cowboys at home next week. 2 good matchups coming up for Evan Ingram. You can also double check for Kyle Pitts. He's got that great matchup against Miami in week number 8. Mark Andrews taking on the Bears in week number 8. Those guys are just less available. And then I've got a list of tight ends that are just, they reek of desperation, but it's for the people in deeper leagues. It's Cade Otton. It's Taysom Hill. It's Oronde Gadsden. And then Jonnu Smith, if you can get him before Thursday's game, or you just wait until after the weekend and you pick him up next week, he's available. All 4 of those tight ends are available in at least 2/3 of CBS leagues. All 4 of them have a chance to get you anywhere between, let's call it 7 and 14 PPR points if the week really treats them right.
Noah Fant. It could be just a 1 week thing and it's tonight, but
Right.
You got Gesicki out, you got Hudson out. So Noah Fant is 4% rostered. And he has had 4 or 5 targets in 4 of 5 games. I need a DST, Dave Richard. What do I do?
I got 2 of them for week 8 and week 7. If you really want to use them, you can. The Falcons DST right off the bat. We're just loading up on Falcons on this episode.
Yeah.
They're 77% available. They take on the Dolphins. The Falcons have scored at least 8 fantasy points in 4 straight games. You think that number is low? 8 points, that's no good. That's okay for a DST. But 2 of those games, they've been 10 plus, and I think they're getting better, and they should be able to hassle the Dolphins. The Colts DST, they're much less available, 37% available. They take on the Titans. They've allowed at least 13 fantasy points to 5 of the first 6 DSTs they faced. The one that didn't do it was Arizona. That's kind of obvious. Their defense isn't particularly great. There's 2 other 2 other DSTs for week 8 only. It's the Bills DST. It's the Giants DST. The Bills DST against Carolina, that number is going to go up. They're only available in about 1/3 of CBS leagues. That could end up being about 50% by the time we get to Sunday. And then the Giants DST, 76% available against Philadelphia, who have allowed at least 10 plus fantasy points to each of the last 2 DSTs they faced, including the Giants in week number 6.
That was a lot, Dave. Nice work. Take a breath.
My throat's killing me.
Yeah, you need a drink. You need just a water, I meant. Coffee, whatever. But appreciate all the hard work you're putting into this. It's really, really helpful. Please, everybody, get ahead of the game and beat the waiver wire for Fantasy Week 8. Dave has an enormous water bottle. He is drinking it as we speak, and I will let him finish, and we will talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.